just a word ahead of time. Please, anyone that does come up to speak, please use the microphone the way it was designed. You have to speak right into the end. You speak to the side, nothing works. You have to speak into the end. These are direction microphones. And we're all here to be heard and to listen. So please observe that. Have a roll call, please.
John Esposito.
Present.
Paula Macho.
Here.
Tom DeRamo.
Present.
Brian Capola. Robert DeRamo. Robert DeLuca, sorry. You here?
Yeah, I'm here.
David Bailey here. Sorry.
For tonight's meeting, Robert DeLuca will act as an alternate because he was not here last week. So he will be our alternate, and he will not have voting privileges, but he will be able to ask questions. First of all, we'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve the meeting minutes as read.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Has everyone read the minutes?
Yes.
Any discussion on the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. We will approve those minutes. Next is correspondence, communication, anything that we have to address at this time. Yeah, we can do that now. We have a request for a continuation. For property located at 0 Danielson Pike, Plat 14 Lot, 0003A, General Business Mixed Use. Michael and Judy Palucci request a special use permit for the zoning ordinance needed under Article 4, zoning regulations, Section 12, accessory uses. They're asking for a continuance, so nothing else has to be said about that. What we are addressing tonight is the application of Saint 23 LLC for property located at 9 Mount Hygeia Road, being Plat 14, Lot 83, an agricultural residential AR district on 125.3 acres. Special use permit is sought from the Town of Foster zoning ordinance, Article 4 zoning regulation, industrial use, subsection 3, gravel banks. The permit needed to commence a temporary gravel bank excavation operation limited to approvals by RIDEM, including an insignificant alteration to freshwater wetlands permit, industrial stormwater permit, and stormwater discharge for construction activity permit. Based on a stormwater management report, operation and maintenance plan, soil erosion and sediment control plan, and site plans, including construction phases, on-site project operators, excavation, transportation schedules, construction vehicles, staging, refueling, and gravel storage area, all road soil erosion control measures / best management practice, perimeter forest buffer, and final grading, stabilizing, seeding, loaming, submitted with a dust control plan, noise evaluation, traffic impact study, and anticipated post-extracted farming activity. We started the meeting last month, and we heard from the applicant, and we have in past heard from experts that he brought forth. Not at this time. You did bring experts.
Yeah, they weren't allowed, one of them wasn't allowed to speak, so you didn't get to hear from all of them.
Yeah, that was done because I didn't think it was very, I don't have to explain it.
No, I didn't know.
Okay. All right, the procedure will be, the speaker will come forward, state their name and address, and be sworn in to the stenographer, who is a duly appointed clerk of the court, and will do the swearing in. You will stand and speak, you will address the panel, and please use the microphone, as I said. After everyone has had a chance to speak, we'll open a public hearing, and any butters in favor, any public in favor, we'll ask that 3 times. Any butters not in favor, any public not in favor, we'll ask that 3 times, just to make sure that everyone hears it. And then we will give the applicant another chance to speak. We will receive questions from the board, recommendations of the planning board quote. We'll close the public hearing. At that time, no one else is allowed to speak. We'll call the meeting into recess and discuss amongst the board and fill out our worksheets, call back to order, submit our worksheets, staff report, and plan set with attachments. Read the motion into approval and any contingencies that may apply. Okay. We've started this off, so I guess we pick up where we left off. Is there anyone who cares to speak in favor of the application? Any abutters in favor of the application? Come forth. Any abutters in favor of the application? Come forth. Any abutters in favor of the application? Come forth. Any abutters opposed? We have already had one who brought counsel, and he was given time to explain his feelings. Any other abutters who are opposed, who have signed this sheet, please come forward. Anyone? No one opposed that wants to speak?
But you said abutters.
That's what I'm asking for, is abutters. Are there any abutters?
I'll be first.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Stephen Hamlin,
Spell those names.
Stephen, last name Hanlon,
Thank you, sir.
100 Danielson Pike, Forster. I'm opposed for one reason, that I feel that can anybody guarantee me that my well would not be affected at my house? I take for granted every day I go in there, turn my kitchen faucet on, it works. If I got a gentleman moving gravel in my backyard, my well is down 17 feet still by a backhoe. My main concern, besides putting up with the noise, dust, aggravation, that I might be another candidate without a well, like somebody else that I know that wants this property. And that's my biggest concern. I'm 65 next month, and I like to go out my backyard and watch the grass grow and sit down at the picnic table and not have dust blowing in my backyard, the noise of trucks. I would think that's what would happen in a residential area. Maybe I'm wrong. That's what I'm here for, and I hope there's more people that would come up since I'm the first one. So have a nice evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Next. Any abutters opposed? Come forth, speak. Come in.
Hello, my name is Ian Shippey,
Spell those names, sir.
I-A-N,
Microphone?
Closer, please.
Just speak a little louder.
Right.
I-A-N,
That's good.
S-H-I-P-P-E-E. I live at 107 Danielson Pike. My main concern in what has been going on is the driveway to this was designed residentially with a bridge that also serves as a dam to the brook that runs parallel to my property and also to my neighbors. And the weight of the vehicles that have been going over this bridge and dam has surely not been good for it. And if it were to give way, there would be considerable damage to mine and other properties in the area. Another current issue that's been happening is the wildlife displacement, because I've had a number of coyote packs that have been becoming resident in my property, which is concerning with my children running around. And I no longer keep chickens because I've been losing them so quickly. So that's another concern I'd like to raise. Thank you.
I have coyotes
Not
too.
now, I'm sorry, you'll have time.
Okay.
We'll make sure you have a chance to speak,
All right.
but you can't mix it in. Anyone else, please, at this time? Any abutters who care to speak in opposition? Come forward.
I didn't sign anything wrong.
That's all right.
But I am on,
Sir,
No,
my phone,
please.
what's your name?
Brian Curzon.
No, into the microphone.
Brian Curzon,
Spell all the names.
BRIAN, KURCZAP,
P or B?
P is in Peter. And I'm at 96 Danielson Pike. I'm Stephen's neighbor. I'm also on their list as an opposal. For the obvious stated reasons of everybody else, just, I can see clearing through my trees now. I don't feel that that road can handle trucks. I know I'm dealing with trucks on Route 6, unfortunately. And there's a divot in front of my house now that every time a truck hits it, my house shakes. So yeah, I'd like a guarantee. Also, it's not only the drinking water, there's also groundwater that I've been contending with and learning about that house since I bought it in 2004. I don't believe it's on the map, but my house has groundwater underneath it that flows, and I don't know what the impact is going to be when you're blasting or excavating rock. I certainly don't want to deal with the noise. I'm not paying. I didn't move up here to hear a gravel processor. I'm in the stone industry. I'm a mason contractor, and I know that anything involving block and stone is not quiet. There's just a lot of other obvious things for what I'm paying for, and I just don't understand how he was able to get as far as he did, which is the purpose of, I believe, their argument. I just don't understand how he was able to clear 38 acres or however much he did when there are people who want to take down a tree and they have to beg for it. I feel that something went wrong here, and I think it's all about the money for some people, and I think that's sad for our area. If I wanted to deal with this, I live on Route 14 next to the landfill. I live in South Providence, and this is why I moved out here, is to not have to deal with this stuff and not have to come here and argue and get aggravated. That's why I moved to the country. So I'm sorry, but thank you.
Thank you. Any other abutters in opposition? It's your last chance. Any abutters in opposition who wish to speak? All right, we'll open up to the public. Any members of the public that would like to speak in favor? Okay. Anyone in favor first? Let's do it in order, if we may. Anyone in the public that would like to speak in favor? Anyone of the public who would like to speak who is in favor? Anyone of the public that would like to speak that is in favor? Okay. Now, anyone of the public that is in opposition, please come forward.
Thank you. My name is Dorothy Grunewald, Grunewald. Thank you to the zoning board for the opportunity to speak. My name is Dorothy Grunewald. My husband Horst and I live at 22A Mount Hygeia. The back back of our property is about 200 feet from the property line of the applicant. I'm speaking against the special use permit. We have already experienced the sustained noise of the prior removal of acres of trees and the sustained noise of moving rocks and boulders and of loading trucks. That noise lasted for days and weeks at a time. That noise impacted and damaged our ability to enjoy our property, whether we were indoors or outdoors. Now the applicant is requesting to create more noise for a stated 1.5 to 2 years. In addition to the obnoxious noise itself, this proposed gravel bank excavation operation is detrimental to property values for us and for our neighbors. Also, the harmful impact of this even bigger excavation operation is unknown in regard to residential wells, which are essential for high-quality drinking water for us and for our neighbors. Our property on Mount Hygeia is in a scenic and quiet area of the rural town of Foster. This is why we moved here years ago. We have experienced terrific good neighbors, and we're distressed over the destruction and the noise of our new neighbor. We're against the permit because it is for a, quote, use which is obnoxious by reason of noise, dust, and vibration, especially noise. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else from the public that would care to speak? Yes, sir.
Lynn Ryder, L-Y-N-N-E-R-I-D-E-R, 20 Burgess Road, Foster. I'm speaking in opposition because clearly this does not, or is not compatible with the way that people choose to live their lives in Foster. I was going through the original special use permit application, and there were things that definitely jumped out at me. Number one, the person or the land use planning and zoning consulting services that prepared this said that they had conducted a comprehensive neighborhood inspection for purposes of determining neighborhood appropriateness. I don't think anyone except the people in Foster are qualified to determine neighborhood appropriateness for this kind of a scale operation. They also said that that after conducting several inspections, that there was quite apparent that there is limited residential presence, and that in some cases the nearest distance from the operation to the footprint of a house is several hundred feet. Out here, that is not far. Our frontage is 300 feet. We know that sound travels. We do not have the traffic noise and the sirens and the other things that you would encounter in a more populated area to mask any of the sounds that are coming out of this operation. Also, it says that, where we go? The proposed operation will encompass the entire property, although only portions will be physically excavated. Now, I didn't realize that the gravel bank was going to encompass the entire property. I'm not sure what they mean by that. If the excavation is limited, how can you, I don't understand how you can have both. Another thing that jumped out at me was that the proposed well-controlled gravel excavation business must be granted latitude in the day-to-day activities to be both economically and operationally successful. Quite frankly, as a resident in Foster, I don't care. I want the operation to impact the residents, the abutters, and people even further away. Not at all. I'm up on Burgess Road, which is, what, 3/4 of a mile away as the crow flies. When they were excavating and using a hydraulic hammer at Jake's property, about a half mile from me on the other side of Jarmuth Hill.
Excuse me, please keep to the...
Right, I heard it constantly. So I know that I will hear hydraulic hammers and blasting. Let's see.
Would you please
They-
wrap it up?
Okay, I'll wrap it up.
Thank you.
Some of these statements that Mr. St. Croix at the last meeting, I found to be either strange or disturbing. One, he said the DEM says that he must remove boulders. Is that in his wetlands permit? I mean, I have never personally heard of the DEM saying you absolutely have to remove the boulders. And his attorney was saying that there's absolutely no value to those boulders. Well, from what I've heard, that's the only thing on the property that is going to be valuable, because they're going to crush them and make gravel out of them. The other part is temporary, only 2 years. We'll tell that to the 90-year-old gentleman who lives on East Killingly, who wants to enjoy his property.
You'll have to excuse me, please. All valid words, and we appreciate that, but I do have to hold you to it.
Okay, can I have one more, because this is important and no one else has mentioned it.
Just one.
Okay. He said he had a deep water permit from DEM. Then in case he hits a gusher, okay, he has a permit to get it off of the property, to divert it off the property. Well, that deep water, if you're getting that much, somebody's well is going dry. And it could even be an artesian well.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Susan Charlotte. I live at 58 East Killingly Road. My property is about several hundred feet away from St. Clair's property, separated only by the property from the ambulance farm. I'm opposed for many reasons. One is that I've been farming my property since 1978. I obtained a permit from NRCS and laid out 3,000 feet of fencing on my property within the last 10 years. And I did that by myself, along with several gentlemen who had the strength to carry the beams. I've spent tens of thousands of dollars in addition to what NRCS gave me in order to fence in the property for animals. I've raised goats, sheep, chickens, turkeys, rabbits, and various other, and cows on that property. Those animals are very, very sensitive to noise. They're aware of their environment. And when there's unrelenting noise, rabbits in particular will not breed. Breeding rabbits has been a habit and a hobby of mine for the last 30 years. In addition to that, I am now parenting 3 young children. 2 of them are boys, very, very active boys who like to walk in the woods. Unfortunately, there's nothing that separates my property line from that of St. Clair. And so as they get a little older and they want to experiment a little and play in the woods, they could very well approach his property. He says there's going to be a 30 to 40 foot drop off on his property as he excavates this. What's going to happen when those little boys decide that they're going to run around back there and fall off a 30-foot cliff? In addition to that, animals sometimes get out, even though I've invested so much money in fencing. We've had cows that run, and when they're spooked and they're running, and they hit a 30-foot cliff, what's going to happen to them? Is he going to reimburse us for the thousands of dollars that we have invested in our cows and our other animals? I don't think so. Okay. In addition to that, I now have 2 wells on my property, and I'm upstream from where his property is. So far, I have not noticed a drop in the water pressure or the water in the wells. However, the wells are very fragile. One is 375 feet deep and the other one's 400 feet deep. It won't take much to drain those walls, and I cannot afford to put another well on the property, even if I could, if the water wasn't even there. Thank you.
Anyone else that would care to speak in opposition from the public? Come forward, please. I'm gonna try to hold you to 3 minutes.
I have 3 sentences. Eva Sauce, 45.
The microphone, please. Speak into the
Sorry.
end.
Eva Sauce, 45 Old Danielson Pike. S-Z-O-S-Z. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. The applicant has acted without reference to his neighbors, our environment, and our town regulations. He's only here before you tonight because he was unable to find himself a way of not being here. I feel that his actions show a disregard for the town and our zoning regulations that should not be rewarded. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? Late arrivals that care to speak, come forward. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Daniel Davey. I live on 3 Mount Hygeia Road, Foster.
So, baby?
D-A-V-E-Y. Like most people that have moved up here that wasn't born here, I moved up here 20 years ago for the serenity and the quietness of the country. I'm from Warwick, Connecticut, Hoxie area. I go back down there and they built on every little piece of land that you can find. There's some other people from Warwick area that live up this way too, and they moved up here for the same reason. I can hear a backfire on a car on Killenly Street now, because there is no buffer. There'll never be a buffer. So I don't know what this gentleman is telling us, but I don't get the deer, I don't get the animal. I'm worried for my well also. When I drive down 94 and I look to the right, it's barren. I can't believe it. I can't believe 100 acres is gone. And I support everything that these people before me have said. I can't remember everything everybody said, but it made me want to come up here and say, hey, this is why we're up here. Everything, my kids grew up here. I'm still supporting the schools and the churches. And we came up here for this. I don't believe this gentleman came here for this. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
John Neal, N-E-A-L-E, 58A East Killingley Road. First, I want to thank you all for what you do. Having served on the planning board several years as chair, I understand what these boards are required to do, and I thank you. Respectfully, I'm going to speak against the special use permit for this, and I'm going to go with starting with the comprehensive plan. Paperwork that was submitted that's in the comprehensive plan. There's a big area, a quarter of a mile to a third of a mile, that is a wellhead protection area. My well is within that as a private well. It is a shallow well, I'm 22 feet down, but I can go across the street from my property, walk through my neighbor Susan Charlotte's place to where she meets up with a neighbor, and get to one of the 2 designated graveling areas and not change elevation, not go up a foot, not go down a foot, same line. Where I go with this is there's some swampy area in there. I am not a geologist, not a hydrologist, but I do know common sense as the water flows slowly north and will come up Shippy Brick, come my way or it flows south into Payne and go from there. I'm really concerned that any major excavation, changing of this and such, will change that water. And for this, you know, I have to say personally, I'm just really concerned about that. I can't speak for anyone else in their well, but that's where I am with that. Again, comprehensive plan, this is not a small operation. This is a huge industrial graveling operation. I'd like to see it called such. If so, they can put forward as that, and they can have it go through the proper vetting procedure. But this is not just a regular neighbor moving stuff here and there. I have concern over the noise. I can occasionally hear the machinery, which is fine, because again, I run lawnmowers, I do chainsaws, we all make noise. But I'm thinking that if it's going to be, since all the trees have been cut down and the buffer removed, then I'm not sure that I need to pay that price of hearing all of that all the time. At the beginning, say again.
1 minute.
Okay. Then I'll go with the property rights. That when we started all of this, it was indicated that you have to consider the applicant's property rights and what he wants to do with his property. I would ask you to consider mine. I can't speak for any of the 30 or 40 neighbors within that third of a mile circle. I'll let them speak for themselves, not, or whatever. But I'm entitled to that peace and quiet, that security, that has to be balanced in. And I'm concerned about this. This is huge. This is not small.
Thank you, sir.
Very much. You go ahead. And, you know, it was age before beauty and the other guy.
Is there anyone else? Yes, ma'am. You are public?
My name is Sally Freestone, SALLY-FREESTONE. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak. My concerns are the following. Oh, sorry. 48 Mount Hygeia Road. I'm about 2 miles from this operation. And even though I am 2 miles from the operation, these are my concerns. We are the beginnings of a watershed here in Foster. And I'm concerned about the possible pollution of that watershed all the way down to the Patuxent River. We have two or three small streams that are on the property. If the groundwater is disrupted, we're likely to, or actually the aquifer will be disrupted, we're likely to have failure of people's wells. I've read studies concerning property values and what a gravel pit, a gravel project can do to property values even 2 to 3 miles away. There are certain percentages that are lost. I'm concerned about that. My biggest concern is that this operation of Mr. St. Croix is a manufacturing operation. He is not removing gravel. He is manufacturing gravel. There really is no gravel there. He's making it and he's getting profit from that gravel. This is an industrial operation. I'm concerned about the school children, the noise, the dust, the traffic of all the trucks. Basically, this project, I feel, is too huge for our rural town. This project is not compatible with our rural way of life. And that's how I feel. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? Anyone else from the public that would care to speak at this time? Yes, ma'am.
Heidi Caldwell, COL-WELL, 29 Windsor Road, Forster. This is an industrial, she is right. And as far as I'm concerned, this is an AI district. It really should be in manufacturing industrial district. It should be going in front of the council to have that rezoned. That's how I feel.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? Last chance. You coming up, sir? Oh, yeah, well, obviously you're coming.
Hi, my name is Dave Hazebrook. Hazebrouck. A resident here in town had asked me to take a look at the potential impacts that this, granting this special use impact could have on groundwater quality. And I was wondering if I could.
So you're speaking as a public,
No.
you're representing someone?
I'm speaking as a resident of Rhode Island. I live nearby in Gloucester.
He said he was hired by a neighbor.
Hold on. With consulting counsel. Were you hired by the neighbor?
Yes.
You're getting paid?
Yes.
Is the neighbor here?
Yes.
Does he have counsel?
Yes.
Has the counsel presented itself as,
Making no further presentation this evening. He concluded at the end of last hearing.
it's kind of late.
Well, the thing is, aren't I allowed to give an opinion?
That's what we're asking. Spots here. Mr. Sparks has rested his case. For you to enter in his behalf at this time as a quasi-expert, it's inappropriate at this time. We've been advised by counsel. We've been advised that we can put it to a vote. We'll honor a motion at this time. Anyone care to make a motion to hear this gentleman's testimony?
I make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to dismiss this witness as being on board.
Anyone second that? All in favor of dismissing him?
Aye.
So that's 3 opposed and I'm sorry, sir. It's out of order, and we put it to a vote, so we can't let you speak at this time. Thank you for your effort. Anyone else? Last call. We will give the applicant a chance to answer any of these questions that he cares to, and bring up anything else that he cares to at this point, as long as it's pertaining to what we're discussing.
What was just said.
Right.
Brian St. Croix. Okay, as far as I just kind of jotted what everybody was asking down about their water concerns and everything else. And I went to the DEM and got an insignificant alteration to a wetland. So everything was done by engineers back and forth. And another thing I did this week too is to address the people here in the audience is I went to the USDA. Well, I went to the USDA and
I hired a mediator. Well, I don't hire them, they work for the USDA, kind of like that guy Al Betancourt that was here. Well, to meet with neighbors to show them exactly what I'm doing. To have a mediator in the room because, I mean, I'm having a hard time understanding how I can come into a town and go over, well, Juliana was the planner at the time, have all this stuff done that isn't cheap. It's like, this should have been done first. I mean, I spent so much money to make sure that I wasn't hurting any wells. I mean, that was all done. And now everybody's saying, oh, you're gonna hurt my well. I spent so much time and effort. I spent a lot of time and effort making sure that nothing was getting damaged. I mean, I suppose if I was a neighbor, I would have a lot of concern too. And I would think that, oh, you know, the bridge is gonna collapse. The bridge is never gonna collapse. It's been tested. So that's one thing out the window. The insignificant water, the insignificant alteration plan just means that I am not destroying anything. I have to stay inside the DEM guidelines. I have to have everything tested. I have to have people come out and test the water. I mean, these are things that are implemented in what I'm doing. Now, mind you, I'm expanding a horse farm. I know you said you didn't think it was a farm, but Ken Ayers from the agricultural, the DEM, says it's a farm, and they know that's what I'm developing. I'm putting in hay fields. Now, the comprehensive plan of this town is a timeline. It's not an ordinance. So if 5 years down the road there was a 100-acre horse farm there, because I'm joining the wide open space thing, so it's not getting developed. I've had solar companies, condo companies, and to be honest with you, I have 2 buyers that are hot and heavy all over it, and I keep telling them no, because I want to make, you know what? It's a ground mining. We're not digging down 1 million feet. And to address Mrs. Ryder's about I have a dewatering permit. All that means is if we hit water in an area, okay, we pump the water out of that area into another pond that has a filtration system with a pipe that goes in it. Then that goes into the pond, it settles, it drains out, and then goes down into the other big pond that I built. And let's see what else here. I don't remember the lady's name who lives a couple 100 feet away, but all the work on that side, all that loud noise is done. That pond is built. All that's going to happen is that material is going to get streamed and it's going to get placed back down. It's going to be seeded. I mean, I feel like I came to this town and I followed your laws, and I hired everybody that I needed to do this project. I don't want to hurt these people. I don't want their wells to get destroyed. I don't want their values to go down. If anything, their values are going to go up. I mean, it's going to be a beautiful place. It's not a gun range. It's not a racetrack. It's not a mosque. It is a horse farm, and a huge one. If Foster isn't a place for horse farms, I mean, do you put them in Providence? You guys just approved another gravel pit on Jenks Road. And mine isn't permanent. Those things were all permanent. There's 5 of them in town. You know? And I'm on Route 94. I've had the traffic study done. I'm not hammering out 150 trucks every day. We gave a decent amount. And I tested that by getting copies of the police report and everything. Were there any complaints? Did anybody complain while I was selling anything up, you know, up the street? And they bought gravel. And to answer everybody's question, yes, there was gravel on the lower end of it. I mean, that's some of the stuff we're moving out. And the other stuff was just what do they call it? Till. Glacial till. It's like clay. And the big boulders, I found great homes for them this weekend after the storm. People want to buy them whole. I don't want to crush them. I don't want them. That is my last thing that I want to do because it's expensive. I've gone over the cost of crushing. And I've got a 10 million pound pile right now just from one of the ponds. And that's not something I can just push to the side. You know, there was a lot of thought that had gone into this. This was a year And somebody else had mentioned the trees. Like, how did I do that? Mrs. Sparks signed the clearing permit for the trees. I mean, this is ridiculous. I hired a mediator to talk to them and their lawyer. I don't want to wreck their life. I don't want to wreck their kid's life. You know, the son has a restraining order on him now. I know, but I'm just trying to involve all the.
You've only got limited time, so stick to your.
Well, this guy got a half 35 minutes nonstop, uninterrupted. You know, people have tried to blackmail me. I've had a bunch of things happen that I am going to push through court now. And it's not my desire. It's a horse farm. It's a temporary gravel pit because that's what the town of Foster calls it. I didn't name it a gravel pit. It's not. We're clearing land. It's not an industrial manufacturing facility. Those are 400 and 500 acres. Huge. This is not a big pit if it was a gravel pit. It doesn't have enough there to last years. We're surface mining. I have to remove the boulders. I'm trying to sell them, and I got them a bunch sold for seed balls. So nobody has to listen to a ham or a crushing or blasting. I don't want to blast. I don't want to rock crush. If it comes that I have to, I told you I would build a big berm way down in the corner, and the thing can park behind it, and you're never going to hear it. That's proven in a sound study. I mean, I had all this stuff done by professionals, engineering, everything, so that it wouldn't disturb the water and everything everybody's worried about. I mean, it's good to have all these opinions, but I went to the guys that do it. Otherwise, I would have just came here myself and said, hey, well, I'm not wrecking anything. There's no disturbing the water. I have facts that stand behind it. And I went, there was a criteria that needed to be met. I met it and then some. I met with the guy who wrote the laws in 1984. What do you think of this package? He goes, it's outstanding. There's no way they can deny you when you submit something like this. I worked with Juliana for a year. I mean, this is my life. I sold my business. Nobody brings that up. I have kids. I've dug into my daughter's college thing for this. I know, I'm just, you know what I mean? This is a lot for me. And it's, I mean, nobody knows me here. You know, a couple people do, but it's basically like, they come up and they tell me what I'm gonna do. This is what he's gonna do. He's gonna destroy this, he's gonna wreck this, because that's how I feel, and it costs me nothing to get up and say it. Well, I follow the laws here, you know, and I will fight it to the end, you know, and I want to work with everybody. If something bothers somebody, I will deal with it. I'm not saying I'm coming in here to crushing rocks and whatever. I'm not a gravel guy. I don't want to be a gravel guy. This is what the town of Foster calls it. You know? And as far as the coyotes, I got coyotes on videotape trying to attack the horses up there. So I'm not scaring the animal life away. The vibration doesn't go in the ground that far across the street to shake houses. It just doesn't happen. You know, I mean, they can think what they want. Let's see here. In the sound, I'm staying underneath all of the legal decibels. And I agreed to have it measured. You know, doesn't allow, I mean, we're talking about Route 6. There's 25,000 cars that go through there every day with 18-wheelers that also come right by this school that I videotaped and took pictures of. The trucks are everywhere. I mean, I agreed to things and I looked into it and said, who's testing the air for the school when the soccer field is being cleared? Was there anything in writing that anybody had that tested? Because that's a hell of a lot closer than I am. And what's going to happen when they start working over there again? I offered to donate all the fill for over there to level the place out. Say, okay, I'll help out because it's going to cost a fortune to fix it because somebody did it the wrong way and now it's sank. So I said, I'll help out. Even though school committee says, oh no, he's destroying the planet, I do it for the kids. I love kids. I have kids of my own. So this gravel pit has scared the crap out of everybody. And that's the problem. You need to have more definitions in what somebody's doing. I was told by the agricultural department that I don't even need to do this. This is what they're telling me. I know, and I agreed to come here because I want to work with everybody. I'm not looking to cause dust clouds and trucks, and there's this picture being painted that's horrible. I drive around here, I see tractors in yards, I see people doing stuff. This is a farming community. This is not downtown Warwick. And I'm at a loss here, you know? I see that Rhett's here. Rhett knows all the ordinances, and that's what we have to follow. That's what stands up in a court of law. You can ask the council. That's what stands up, not the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan is a timeline. So if me building a horse farm isn't rural, I don't know what is. And a temporary gravel pit, I've never, ever seen one in Providence, in Warwick, in Boston. You just don't see them. You know, and that's what it comes down to. Like I said, if something bothers somebody, I'll fix it. I mean, I have done dust remediation, sound remediation, just everything that needs to be done. You know, in the last meeting, I mean, everybody was amped up, you yelled at me for a good half an hour, and I'm just like, I don't understand it. You know, if that was the case, I mean, my suggestion, whether I pass here or not, I would rewrite the way that you guys do things, because I spent a boatload of money to do it the right way.
I stick to how it applies to you.
That's how it applies to me, and that's what I'm trying to get across. I don't understand. I mean, shouldn't there be a system in place?
We're not here to answer your questions, sir. We're giving you an opportunity.
Right, all right.
To the people that brought up valid points.
All right, I covered the dewatering, right? And the drop-off, the 30-foot drop-off, somebody's concerned about that. It's a 2 to 3, whatever, it's a slope. It's about like this. I would never cut an edge off. You just don't do that. Nobody's gonna, I mean, that would be stupid to build a ledge to have, you know, some little kids in the neighborhood walk off of. That would be absolutely crazy. You know, and there's just so many rumors going around. Facebook has killed this town. I mean, it's divided like the whole country. It's crazy. You know, I just want to make a horse farm and I'm putting hayfield in. And a lot of the area that's being cleared is cleared. So it's almost done. Once I get through the boulder noise, there'll be no noise. And I would be willing to say, okay, well, if we get this whole area done, I won't touch any rocks. Maybe, you know, for a whole month in the summertime. And we'll just move sand out. I mean, those are the things I'm willing to work with, but you know, to be shot down like this, you know, it's just crazy. In the water, like the water damage, this is what's mind blowing to me. I go to Dupree Engineering and GZA Engineers. These guys are the best at it. I didn't do it because I had a bunch of money to blow. I did it because I wanted it done the right way. These guys, they really went back and forth with the DEM a ton to prove there's no significant problem. There's not going to be a wellhead problem. Yes, it's in a watershed, but it was dealt with. That's why the gradings are where they are, because of the water. These things were all dealt with by professional engineers, back and forth, at the DEM, then back to, you know, Dupree, back and forth, for a year. Those guys know what they're doing. You know, I hear, you know, Providence Water wants to buy land from me because I'm destroying everything. Providence Water is a company that works. They answer to the DEM. So there's really no use for these people to, you know, question the permits that to a company they answer to, or to a, you know, a state agency, I should say. So, I mean, I feel bad because of the way that this was shot out into the public. You know what I mean? It's just, it looks a hell of a lot worse. You know, it's like the fear before jumping out of a plane. You know, you sit on the edge and you're like, I don't want to jump, I don't want to jump, it's so bad. And somebody jumps, and it's really not that bad. You have to float down. So, you know, it's this on the other side of fear line that I need to get to. And I'm trying to explain the best way I can. And I don't want to bring another big team of people here, because it's a waste of money. I think the people want to hear from me and what I want to do. You know, I don't wish any harm to the neighborhood. I really don't. You know, if something is that off, I just want you to remember that I came here, I spent a long time with your town planner as well as my engineers and lawyers, and they went, Juliana is thorough. That's one thing about her. I mean, it was a little aggravating to me how thorough she was, but she got everything done. And she told me, okay, this is what we need, and this is what you need for a special use permit. And that's what I'm here for, you know? And I'll never change some people's minds, but...
Excuse me.
Yeah.
We're getting into psychological and things of that nature. Please address as a rebuttal anything in particular that you feel is being misused.
I'm not a lawyer, so I have a hard time just you know, shooting facts. So I kind of like to speak to people sometimes.
Well,
maybe I should be a politician. I have no idea. But
is there anything else on your list?
no, I think you know, it's I don't know, like Brian Kurzap. He lives right on Route 6. He was saying, and I mean, the water table near him is not even that. I'm nowhere near it. It's so high above. I'm 580 feet, and it goes down to 500. So we're not digging in the ground and hitting water and pumping it out.
So
that dewatering thing is
we've got
just
opposing opinions on that point.
Well, opinions aren't facts, and they're not engineering. They're not done by professionals. That's why I had to present all this, so that you guys went over and seen that I followed the laws, and all these engineers have addressed all these concerns ahead of time. They think of, the DEM thinks of things that aren't even mentioned, you know? They think of everything, and they come back and they make you fix it, you go back, you know? Had I known this, I would have never, ever bought that property, and I would have never spent the money on all this engineering, had I known, you know what I mean? This is a huge problem. Huge problem.
Do you feel as though you've been given adequate time in rebuttal?
Yeah, I think so, I guess so.
No, I'm asking you.
No, I mean, I think I pretty much covered everything on the paper, I believe. You know, in the swamp area they're talking about, that's all, everything's delineated, which means it's all marked off where the wetlands are, you know? And I don't know, I mean, I'd like to hear from Rhett to see what I followed, you know?
Thank you for your input. Sorry. Anyone else? No, you can't. I'm sorry, man. You were given an opportunity. That's why I said it 3 times. You were given your opportunity. Now we have a rebuttal. So to follow the procedure, it's...
My time was cut short.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. No one's time is cut short. If we felt as though you were deviating, I don't have to explain to you, but we feel as though you're given adequate time. You go before the town council, you get 2 minutes. And I think we were quite lenient in offering everyone's time that was required. We've covered a lot of ground here, and we appreciate your input. We don't take it lightly, but I'm sorry, it's out of line to have you come back. Any questions from the board at this time? Say what?
I have a question.
The board can ask any questions they want at this time. Absolutely.
No, that's fine, you can stay there. I noticed all over your application, you use the word... All over your application, you use the word temporary gravel operation. Could you define temporary?
That was a town's definition of temporary. It just means it doesn't run forever. I think it's anything over 5 acres, I believe from memory. Anything over 5 acres, if you're clearing or removing any material, is considered a temporary gravel pit according to their town ordinances.
Okay, then let me ask you this. What do you foresee the extent of time frame on this operation?
I would like to do it in a couple of years, because, I mean, you gotta remember, I lose the winter, and depending on the time that, you know what I mean, I'm working there,
answered the question, a couple of years.
That's all I was looking for. Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else on the board?
I have one follow-up question.
Whitney? I think it's
Okay.
close to kids.
Mr. St. Croix, can you tell me how many of the neighbors who have expressed concerns here tonight, who came to do a site walk and ask you questions and really see what you were doing?
I put it up on the Foster Town Council News. I said, anybody that wants to come over, if you have any questions, I can show you what I'm doing. You know, a couple of them that I had email addresses to, I emailed them and I got no response. But I have said several times, if anybody has any questions, feel free to drive in, just ask for me, and I'll point out and show you. I mean, it's hard for, like, I've been reading blueprints my whole life, so it's hard for the layman person to sit there and look at grading lines and everything else. So I figured somebody would come over, I could explain. I mean, actually, one of the guys did, but he's not here tonight. I find that anybody for it is scared to come forward because of the, I don't know, repercussions or something, I don't know. But yeah, I mean.
So no one, basically, is what you're saying?
Well, yeah, the guys.
One man, one person.
Yeah, yeah.
Brian, I do have another question. So you did do due diligence, you feel, you mentioned it a dozen times about the drainage, the DEM permits. You understood and you stated that the gravel bank excavation, definition by the town, is going to be temporary. It's going to be done during certain times. You've understood all the discussions we've had. Do you have any statements or comments about that to me?
Just the 9 o'clock in the morning. In the business of the guys that drive trucks that would pick anything up, everybody starts at 7:30. I mean, I would probably lose business. I'd rather scale it to earlier and cut out earlier than I would work later. You know, because it usually works out. I called around to all local pits. Some of them actually open up at 6. I don't want to do that. So 7:30, and work till like 3:30, and then at the end of the day, you usually have a couple of hours of cleaning up and waiting for the next day, which, you know, I figured I'd be allowed to just work on the property in a machine and just make piles or whatever. I mean, it's not unheard of. That's pretty much how everybody does it.
Yes, and you did address the bridge issue. The testing has been done on the bridge by whom?
Deprete Engineering went down underneath and they looked at it. They had a guy come out and they had some, I don't know what it's called, but it shoots something into the ground to test stability. I can try to get a report of that, but I can always.
But it is part of the report that you did with Deprete Engineering?
Yeah, I think so. Let me make sure though. But I mean, it's on my property and the hole under the bridge is, I think, 2 feet. It's one of those concrete culverts and it's just all stone. The bridge looks longer than what it is. It only goes over, it's only open for 2 feet. Other than that, it's all solid rock underneath.
And maybe my point was, maybe I didn't formulate it correctly, because you're right, if anything happens to the bridge, it would be incumbent upon you to fix it.
Right. And I'm listed as the operator, the person who they're going to blame if something happens, if you will.
I guess we've covered all. All right, at this time, we're closing the public hearing, and the zoning board will do the caucus, discuss it amongst ourselves, and we will issue a motion after a few minutes discussion amongst ourselves. We're discussing amongst ourselves, but we're out in the open. It's an open meeting.
Yeah.
The problem I have is the magnitude of this operation. A 2-year operation with equipment and trucking is not temporary, it's industrial, and it should, in my opinion, it should be treated as such. There are town ordinances which apply to this, which, in my opinion, are in violation here. And I understand the applicant has spent a lot of money, and a lot of time, and a lot of experts, and I agree with that. The statement was made at the last meeting that 94 trucks is insignificant, and that really impacted me, that bothered me. 94 trucks is not insignificant. And if this does go forward, I feel it has to be explicit in reference to any rock processing, period. Be it rock crushing, jackhammers, explosives, or any type of rock processing other than putting the rock in a truck and taking it away.
Okay, I wanted to speak to that because the special use permit as written in the zoning ordinance, section 11, does classify it as industrial use. As industrial use. So the gravel bank permit does fall under, in this case, an industrial use. That's the definition of the town ordinance. So the draft motion as written, I believe, does conform to the zoning regulations. I think the application is correct. I think where Mr. St. Croix and his attorneys had spoken at the last meeting, subsection 23 addresses LLC's intent to mine, which just means take product off the property. Because he can move the stone, we wouldn't be having this discussion. It's now that he wants to take it off. This is the category of the special use permit. We did identify that under subsection 24 is a special use permit in addition for a rock crusher, which the applicant has said under oath that that's not their intent right now. And they understand that they'll have to come back in front of the board to move for subsection 24 rock crushing. That's a different permit.
But what I was speaking of is rock processing, not including the rock crusher, including jackhammers, including explosives, or any material that's going to process stone, other than picking it up and putting it in the truck. That's what I'm concerned.
Mr. St. Croix did say that he did not intend to blast right now, and if he did, he would have to get permits.
Right.
Right, so that's, and to David's point, we're here to talk, this is a special use because of the material being taken off. Obviously, if there were explosive or whatever and a permit was needed, then that will be addressed later.
Thank you, Paul. Exactly, that's my point. In other words, we need to stick to the affidavit that's been filed, a permit request that's been filed. It is industrial use gravel bank as the town, it's the town's definition, not anyone else's.
And if you look at the special use table, that is allowed under the special use permit in our use table in an agricultural zone.
Any more discussion from the board? All right, the chair will entertain a motion at this time. The motion will be stated in affirmative, but that is for legal purposes. When we vote, if we vote for the motion, that means we accept what the motion states. If we vote against the motion, then we're rejecting it. And the secretary will read the motion at this time.
I make a motion to approve the application under the authority granted to the Zoning Board of Review by Rhode Island General Law 45-24-57 by the Town of Foster's Zoning Ordinance Article 2, Division 2, Sections 38 through 63. Specifically, the following special use permit is granted for the use of a gravel bank on approximately 125.3 acre property at 9 Mount Hygeia Road, Plat 14, Lot 83, in an agricultural residential AR per the Town of Forster zoning ordinance, Article 4, zone regulations. The description of uses is Section 11, industrial use, subsection 23, gravel bank. To commence a temporary gravel bank excavation operation limited to the approvals by the Rhode Island DEM, including insignificant alteration to freshwater wetlands permits, industrial stormwater permit, and stormwater discharge for construction activity permit, based on a stormwater management report, operation and maintenance plan, soil erosion and sediment control plan, and site plans including construction phases, on-site project operators, excavation and temporary transportation schedules, construction vehicles, staging, refueling, gravel storage areas, haul road, soil erosion control measures, best management practices, perimeter forest buffer, and final grading, stabilizing, seeding, looming, submitted with a dust control plan, a noise evaluation and traffic impact study, and anticipating post-extraction farming activities. Evidence of the following standards pursuant to Rhode Island General Law 45-24-42 and the Town of Forster zoning ordinance, Article 7, Section 38, 323A, has been entered into records of proceedings. The special use complies with all applicable requirements and development and performance standards set forth in Article 6, uses, and 9, site plan review and Forster zoning ordinance. The special use is in harmony with the general purpose and intent of Forster zoning ordinance and comprehensive community plan of the town. The special use will substantially serve the public convenience and welfare. The special use will not result in or create conditions inimical to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. The special use will not substantially or permanently injure the appropriate use of the surrounding property. The Zoning Board of Review has considered, in regards to this special use, access to air, light, views, solar access, public access to water bodies, rivers, streams, and the conservation of energy and energy efficiency. These optional conditions further propose that the following special conditions, based on competent, credible evidence on record and allowed under Rhode Island General Law 45-24-43 and the Forster zoning ordinance, Article 7, Sections 38, 324, be applied to the decision in order to promote the intent and purpose of the comprehensive plan of the town and the zoning ordinance. Approvals shall run concurrent with DEM multi-sector general permit, MSGP RIR 50J007, an application to Rhode Island DEM to extend or renew the MSGP shall trigger a new special use permit application with the town. All requirements of the DEM approvals shall be met, and the town shall be copied on any correspondence to and from the Rhode Island DEM. Pursuant to Chapter 26, Soil Erosion and Sediment Control in the Town of Forster's Code of Ordinances, the building inspector will review the DEM approved soil erosion and sediment control plan and perform periodic inspections to ensure conformance with the plan, as well as a final inspection. And the applicant will be responsible for the associated review and inspection fees. The applicant shall retain a registered professional engineer to conduct required inspections, and all inspection and monitoring reports kept with the DEM approved soil erosion and sediment control plan shall be provided to the building inspector upon request. Any corrective actions must be reported within 5 business days to the building official. A bond shall be posted to cover the cost of stabilization and conversion of the land and stormwater drainage systems, calculated by a registered professional engineer and accepted by the building inspector. The applicant shall retain a certified safety professional to conduct decibel readings from 500 feet to any active portion of the subject site on a bi-monthly basis, and furnish the findings within 5 working days to the building inspector. At no time shall the decibel readings exceed 15 decibels above the benchmark. Hours of operation or transportation shall not coincide with peak AM or PM traffic and shall be confined Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Traffic shall be routed only on Route 6, east or west. The easement for the town of Foster for the use, maintenance, and repair of a dry fire hydrant recorded in Book 168 at page 908 shall be observed, and open access to the hydrant preserved. Hydrant approved by Rhode Island DEM for South Foster Fire Company and recorded in Book 169 at page 831. Mature evergreens shall be planted at the north property line to help visually and audibly buffer the operation from the adjacent abutters, and such plantings appropriate to the soil shall be verified by the building inspector prior to the formal local approval of the soil erosion and sediment control plan. Mature trees shall be, in this case, defined as being 8 feet or taller. A sound professional will take a benchmark decibel reading before any work commences within 5 feet of the property line abutting a residential parcel. And at no time shall a rock crusher be used on the property without first obtaining permission of the Foster Zoning Board of Review. That's the motion, Mr. Chairman.
That's the motion. I'd like at this time to call our building inspector, Mr. Red Bishop, and ask him if this is something that he can enforce. Is he capable of making the inspections required? Excuse me, Mr. Red, I did not follow procedure. Can we have a second on that motion? Anyone care to second the motion that was just read?
I'll second so we can discuss it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Just a second, okay. We got the second, now.
Red Bishop, building official for the town of Foster. Building official for the town of Foster.
Yep.
On number 9, mature evergreen trees shall be planted at the north property line. I don't feel like this is specific enough. We probably should have a distance between the trees on here so that we can get adequate buffer, if that's what it's for, to buffer sound and view. So evergreen trees, it really depends sort of what trees you're planting, but average would be 12 feet to 15 feet apart to accomplish that.
No, Brett, if I might, I believe that this was added, and the language was added that the building inspector, prior to the approval of the tree layout, would have a chance to, you'd have the chance for input.
So I would be able to take care of this.
This motion, the way I read it, and the way it was written, was that, I'll read it again, Section 9, mature evergreens shall be planted at the north property line to help visibly and audibly buffer the operation from adjacent abutters, and such plantings appropriate to the soil shall be verified by the building inspector prior to formal local approval. So I believe that you do have written in here a right to have your say, to have your input. We are asking you to be the final say.
Okay.
The question to you, Red, is what you've heard from this, is it sustainable? Is this something that you can handle and make the inspections in a timely fashion?
Absolutely.
This is within your
Yes,
capacity, your time, and
yes.
everything. That's about it.
And if there's anything that I can't do, I would outsource it and get it taken care of.
Right. Thank you for your input.
I actually have a couple of questions for the building inspector. Mr. Bishop, I don't recall how that special condition came to be. I remember at our December meeting, we said that the applicant needed a special use permit because of having a truck to haul material off of the site, how does planting trees fit in with that special use?
The planting of the trees is something that the zoning board can stipulate. They have that power to make it visually easier and less sound for the neighboring properties.
Right, but it doesn't have anything to do with the trucks.
Yes, it would buffer the sound of the trucks.
The sound of the trucks, okay.
Yes.
Okay. That answered that question, and I had one more follow-up question regarding decibel readings. I know in town we do have a noise ordinance, it's very vague, and it doesn't really talk about decibels. So do we really have a right to put a specific decibel reading, or is this a separate question that should come before the town council if this is indeed would be a new ordinance? What would be your opinion on that?
My opinion is the zoning board has the right to place stipulations on the special use permit.
The stipulation is to keep it well within the range that is accepted by the state, and it has been established in the last meeting that that would be a 65 dB rating, because that's what the state recommends, as anything above 65 becomes offensive. 85 and you are required to wear ear protection. So that's where that came from. And it has been accepted that it would be kept within that range and adhered to by state standards. Okay?
And yes, the ordinance is a little vague.
It is. I know we have a lot of town council folks here tonight, so that might be something to look at, because the ordinance that we have, I think is pretty useless because it's so big. So if noise is important, it might be something that they might want to take in the future. I know I'm digressing.
No, but I think it's a great question, because it is a great question, because we don't have a real set in stone noise ordinance where I can go out and run my chainsaw and it might be offensive to Chairman Esposito, but we really don't have that in the town where it's written in stone, where it's so easily defined. But I think Chairman Esposito explained it, that in order to compromise for the town, in keeping with the comprehensive plan, it was discussed that there would be some level of cooperation and adherence to noise levels, so it wouldn't be offensive during peak operations.
And along with that, I agree. Along with that, you may want to, the council may want to adopt working hours also.
Well, we did. We did outline with our council, we did outline hours of operations in item 7 of this motion. Hours of operation or transport shall not coincide with peak AM or PM traffic and shall be confined Monday through Friday 9 to 5. And we came up with that, and with council's advice, we came up with that again as a compromise and keeping with traffic flow, and this operation would be running concurrent with normal interruptions in people's daily lives based on traffic, which I think we've all talked about. There's a lot of traffic on Route 6. Traffic has to be confined east and west to Route 6, which was a compromise we came up with, and also in those hours of operation, so it would be pretty much kept to normal interruptions or inconvenience, if you will.
I agree.
Thank you. All right, any other questions? Any other questions at this time? All right, then we'll put it to a vote. May I say, if anyone on the board cares to make a statement as to why they are voting the way they are, feel free to do so. It becomes a necessity. We've just been advised. You will explain. You can't just say, oh, I don't like the color of the house. You have to have a reason for it. And hopefully, the reason that you have would be covered by law. So it's not arbitrary. We will. Mr. Green? Yeah, you ready to vote?
Mr. Chairman, I need 2 minutes so I can fill out my worksheet.
No, to talk first.
Oh, I thought that was, no, well, before next, well, Tim, doesn't matter,
The worksheets,
doesn't matter, okay.
yeah. It's one of the worksheets I'm gonna have to fill somewhere.
We've been advised both ways, Mr. Chair, so I just wanted to make sure we're on the same
Okay.
page.
Very good. Mr. Raymond.
I listened to both sides of this issue. The property owner would like to operate a business on his property, and the abutting property owners who are concerned about the impact this business will have on their lifestyle and that they have become accustomed to, plus the effect it would have on the value of their property. I have to base my decision on the following articles. Under Article 8 of the Foster Zoning Land Development Project, Section B, subsection D-D. Items to be considered when evaluating a special use permit included, but are not limited to, the following 12 sections. Of the 12 conditions, I believe the following 4 apply. Number 1, the desired use will not be detrimental to the intent of the planned unit development or to the surrounding area. Number 2, it will be compatible with the existing and proposed use within the planned unit development as well as the neighboring land use. Number 3, it will not create a nuisance or a hazard in the neighborhood. And number 4, control of noise, smoke, odors, lighting, and any other objectionable feature is provided. Also, Foster Town Ordinance number 82-11-193, noise section. It is hereby declared to be a nuisance, and it shall be unlawful for any person to make, cause, suffer, or permit to be made, caused upon any premises owned, occupied, or controlled by him in the town unnecessary noise or sounds by the means of human voice or any other means or method which are physically annoying to the persons, or which are so harsh or so prolonged or unnatural or unusual in their use, time, and place as to occasion physical discomfort, or which are injurious to the lives, health, peace, and comfort of the inhabitants of the town. Another concern that this property falls within the Barden watershed and then into the Situate watershed, which is a concern of the Providence Water Authority as stated in the letter received by this board, Exhibit number 1. The concerns raised by the abutters in this matter are well taken, and the facts presented by the applicant fall short, mainly where noise and vibrations are concerned. In another city or town, such as Providence, Warwick, Johnston, where there is industry and greater amounts of traffic, this type of operation would have a lesser impact. In a rural community such as Foster, where on a busy day it is still quiet, the use of this type of heavy equipment on a daily basis would destroy the quiet of the community. For these reasons, I cannot support the special use permit, and I will vote in the negative. Thank you.
I just wanted to say how much I appreciate the intensity, the passion, and everything that's going into a real difficult case. It's been very, very hard these last few months. I hope you guys can appreciate how hard it is for us to take in all this information over this last year, visiting the site, sitting down with council, looking over plans and blueprints. This has been, as a volunteer, this has been a real intense process. And everybody, I want you to understand that everybody on this board has tried to represent the town and the town council and Heidi Caldwell in the greatest, most professional fashion. And I want you to understand that regardless of who votes what on this board, everybody took into consideration fairly, justly, and honestly every single bit of testimony and every single line item in all the documents. I believe that the property that St. LLC is looking to get a special use permit to renovate is a legitimate request. I think the work was done in a very professional manner. I think that all permits and applications obtained in groundwater use and DEM was all done legitimately by licensed engineers, and having 40 years experience in the business myself, I do believe that due diligence was done by Mr. St. Croix and his attorneys and the process. And I believe that what made this case so difficult was the scope and the magnitude of the work that St. LLC was undertaking. If any one of us were to come before the board to get a permit to clear property for a home, a 5-acre parcel or a 10-acre parcel, we wouldn't be having these discussions. But because this property is 10 to 15 times larger than average, it's going to take 10 to 15 times more work. And therefore, I would hope that everyone understands that this board took that into consideration, for the positive or negative. None of us have discussed this, but we do want you to understand that we've treated this with the utmost care, and that I hope you understand that any one of you could come in front of this board at any time and should expect and will receive the same fair treatment. I just want you to understand that. Thank you. I'm going to vote in the affirmative.
So moved.
As David said, that this can be very emotional, and it's been a long haul here. One thing that I do want to repeat is what the chair said at our last meeting. We have a rule book of zoning ordinances that we use to rule at hearings. So even though it's very emotional, we have to keep our emotions out of it. And whether we agree or disagree, we have to have sound reasoning behind us. We can't just say, I don't like it. I will comment again on the noise and on the ordinance that we have. What people find bothersome is different. It's all relative. So it's very hard with our existing ordinance to say, this is too noisy. On our standards worksheet, we have 3 questions. 1, the special use is specifically authorized by this ordinance, and yes, it is. It's in our zoning ordinance, it's in the special use table, and this is allowable with a special use permit. The special use meets all of the criteria set forth in the sections of this ordinance authorizing such special use. In my opinion, it does. The applicant provided, I can't tell you how many different reports, traffic studies, soil erosion, about the water, about a report from DEM. So I want to thank the applicant for really doing due diligence, and in my opinion, going above and beyond information that we needed for this case. And number 3, the granting of the special use will not alter the general character of the surrounding area or impair the intent or purpose of this ordinance or the comprehensive plan of the town. The goal here is to create a farm. And that's his vision. And this is right to do that. This is an agricultural town. We say that we're for farming and we support farming, and we should do that. And to me, it doesn't matter if it's a 1-acre farm or a 100-acre farm. We really need our farms. And the size should not be a factor. He shouldn't be penalized because it's a large farm instead of a small one. So I am approving. I'm voting in the affirmative for this application.
Let it be so recorded.
I have to vote to reject this. I just think the scale of this operation is just not in line with the character of the area. It's a huge industrial operation. I don't think it serves public welfare, traffic, noise. I just don't think it fits in at all. I have to vote to reject.
Let it be so recorded. My turn. You've heard the emotional side. I'm going to read fact. And I'm quoting from the laws that have been handed down to us. And we are here to interpret those laws the way we see fit. I am no different than my fellow people on the board here. But let me read a few phrases to you. Section 38-131, Division of Town into Enumeration. Article 3, Zoning Restrictions. Article 1, or Section 1. I read, AR, Agricultural Residential. This AR, Agricultural Residential District, is characterized by a mixture of low-density residential and farming uses with certain light industrial uses requiring special use permits. Now let me interpret that. By Mr. St. Croix's admission and description, he has stated that he wants 2 years to clear 860,000 cubic yards of fill, be it gravel or whatever, 860 years. And he states it'll take approximately 2 and possibly 2.5 years to do so. And for those of you that are not familiar with a cubic yard of material, a cubic yard weighs between 2,000 and 3,000 pounds. Do the math. 860,000 cubic yards. I did the math. 172 million pounds. That is not small. It is not incidental. This is a major undertaking. He is to be applauded that he is undertaking such a grandiose operation. Let me further read. This AR district is designed to help preserve the rural character of the town, to regulate the development of the town so that the tax base will be adequate to support necessary public expenditures, protect land now used for agriculture and forestry from haphazard enroachment, and to safeguard the health, safety, welfare of the district. Now, granted, his ultimate goal is to have a horse farm. Well taken. But what does he have to do to get there? What he has to do is, as described, as conduct an extractive industry, which means, now this is law, we didn't write it, we're just interpreting it, which means the extraction of minerals, including solids, such as coal, ores, liquids, such as crude petroleum, and gases, such as natural gas. The term also includes quarrying, well operation, milling, such as crushing, screening, washing, flotation, and other preparations customarily done at the extraction site or part of the extractive activity. You have to admit, this describes exactly what's going on. Now, let me read to you, I read to you AR. Now let me read to you MI. MI refers to a district that is stated as manufacturing/industrial. This MI manufacturing/industrial district is characterized by manufacturing and industrial uses, conveniently located to major highways and suitable for industrial development. This MI district is designed to provide sufficient land area to attract industry and to afford it room for expansion, to prevent an unsafe mixture of industrial and residential uses, and to protect residential and commercial districts. I don't know how you look at it, but I interpret this is that it comes out of AR and it goes into MI. And that piece of property is not zoned MI. Consequently, I think everything we've done to this point has been in regards to AR and this property by explanation of the applicant is much more extensive than an incidental application. I vote against. Please poll. How many do we have? 4.
Waste of time, this fucking thing was certified. Tom DeRamo, how do you vote?
No.
Brian Capola, how do you vote?
No.
I don't know. Paula Macho.
Yes.
I vote yes, Mr. Chairman.
I vote against. No, please.
What?
No, you're not. Well, you take HUD money? You take HUD money? You're gonna do a HUD with a fire.
That concludes. We will accept we've got more business to do. So then we'll call a 5-minute recess. We'll call a 5-minute recess, and we will hear another